Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast Rundown with me, Zulfick Farzan. Now on today's program, we have a lineup of interesting stories from here at home and across the world. Now to start off, a prominent statesman from South Africa is expected to arrive in Sri Lanka today. Now who is this individual? Former South African President Thabo Mbeki, a prominent statesman and the second democratically elected leader of South Africa, is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka this morning. Now, Mbeki will be the chief guest at the annual summit of the Capital Maharaja Group that is set to take place tomorrow evening. Now, during his visit, Mbeki is expected to meet with Sri Lankan President Anurakumara Dissanayake, engage with young entrepreneurs and business leaders in Colombo, and participate in the GAMMA, the Rural Development Initiative, over the weekend. Thabo Mbeki is the most important African political figure of his generation. Now to tell you more about him, from January 1999 until September 2002, Thabo Mbeki was leader of Africa's most industrialized state, having succeeded the revered Nelson Mandela as president of post-apartheid South Africa. Even before then, Mbeki ran the country as de facto prime minister under President Mandela, who for the most part handed over the reins of power to his heir apparent shortly after assuming the presidency in May 1994. As a key leader of the African National Congress, or the ANC, in exile, Mbeki had from the 1960s played a significant role in the anti-apartheid struggle under the mentorship of the ANC President Oliver Tambo, and then led secret talks to end apartheid with the white South African corporate sector, the Afrikaner intellectuals and National Party officials in the late 1980s. Now, Thabo Mbeki is expected to arrive at around 9 a.m. This morning and will be received at the Bandaranaike International Airport. Now to some more local news. Railway technical staff across Sri Lanka have decided to commence a token strike from 8 a.m. today, protesting against the reduction of overtime allowances. The strike is expected to continue until tomorrow morning. Now, according to Sampath Amaravansa, the joint convener of the Railway Trade Union Alliance in Ratmalana, the decision was made after repeated appeals to the Railway Department failed to yield satisfactory responses. Now, the strike involves railway technical managers and assistants, and while it is not a full-scale work stoppage, it is expected to impact operations and maintenance schedules. Now, meanwhile, railway gatekeepers who had been on token strike since yesterday called off their protest and resumed duties today. Their absence had caused significant disruptions to train services, particularly on coastal and Putlam lines where several level crossings remained open overnight. In some areas, train drivers and controllers were seen manually managing traffic at crossings, signaling vehicles to stop as trains approached. In Gaul's Makuluwa area, a train assistant was observed stepping off the train to prevent vehicles from entering the tracks due to unmanned gates. Railway General Manager Dhammika Jayasundara confirmed that gatekeeper services have returned to normal. Now what you're seeing on your screens is a train assistant operator who got off the train to manage traffic to prevent vehicles from entering the tracks, and thereafter he boarded the train while it left the train station. This is yet another footage obtained by Newsfirst showing unmanned gates on railway tracks and railway personnel managing traffic by themselves. Some interesting footage there. Now, the Ministry of Health has declared June 30th to July 5th as a special dengue prevention week in response to a sharp rise in dengue cases and fatalities across Sri Lanka. Now let's get into the numbers. So far in 2025, 27,932 dengue cases have been reported with 16 confirmed deaths. The Western Province has recorded the highest number of cases, followed by the Eastern, Sabaragamuwa and Southern provinces. Now this is according to the National Dengue Control Unit. The month of May saw the highest spike with 6,034 cases, while 4,372 dengue cases have already been reported within the first 25 days of June 2025. Now, to combat the outbreak, the ministry has launched a two-phase mosquito eradication campaign. Now, phase 1 from June 30th to July 2nd targets Colombo, Ratnapura, Badulla, Matale, Kalmuni and Kalutara. Phase 2, July 2nd to July 5th. Now, that covers Kandy, Gampaha, Kurunagala, Kegol, Colombo Municipal Council, Jaffna, Batticaloa and Mathura. Dr. Prashila Samaravira at the National Dengue Control Unit stated that 1,600 teams will be deployed daily, each consisting of health officials, police personnel and volunteers. Dr. Sudat Samaravira, the director of the National Dengue Control Unit, emphasized the importance of community participation in eliminating mosquito breeding grounds to prevent the disease from reaching epidemic levels. Now, additionally, a nationwide school-based dengue awareness program will be held on July 9th, organized by the Ministries of Education, Higher Education and Vocational Training in collaboration with the Clean Sri Lanka Secretariat. The initiative aims to foster environmental and behavioral change among students. At the same time, health authorities in Sri Lanka have reported a significant rise in respiratory illnesses due to the prevailing rainy weather conditions, with multiple viral strains currently circulating in the population. According to Dr. Atula Liyanapathiwana, consultant community physician at the Ministry of Health's Epidemiology Unit, heightened vigilance is necessary among vulnerable groups, including young children, the elderly, pregnant women and individuals with chronic illnesses. Dr. Liyanapathiwana emphasized the importance of early medical attention for symptoms such as persistent cough, fever and difficulty of breathing. Over to Anuradhapura. A shooting incident was reported this morning in the Galkulama area of Anuradhapura, according to local police sources. The victim, a 28-year-old resident of Siabalagas Wava in Mihintale, sustained injuries and was promptly admitted to the Anuradhapura General Hospital for treatment. Now, authorities have launched an investigation into the incident. At the same time, the National Police Commission has approved a series of key transfers involving 32 senior police officers, including 9 Deputy Inspectors General and 15 Senior Superintendents of Police or SSPs. Now, among the notable changes, DIG GANL Vijay Sena, who previously oversaw the Kalutara range, has been transferred to head the Badulla range. Meanwhile, DIG WKJR Dias has been appointed to serve concurrently as Staff DIG and DIG in charge of the Central Crimes Investigation Bureau. The other DIGs who received transfers include C. Vedamulla, GH Marapana, JKA Jayasingha, TGNWD Thaldua, GN Dizoiza, KMUP Kalupahana and WJ Padmini. On a related note, the Department of Prisons has announced the transfer of 16 senior prison officials effective from July 2nd. Now, this reshuffle includes 2 special grade prison superintendents, 1 prison superintendent, 8 assistant prison superintendents and 5 acting prison superintendents. Now, here are the notable transfers. AG Gajanayaka, special grade superintendent, has been moved from Bogambara to prison headquarters. DRS Silva, another special grade superintendent, has been transferred from Mahara to Valikada. Sudan Rohana, acting superintendent at the Colombo Remand Prison, will now move to Mahara. Now, in a story that has rocked and shocked Sri Lanka's prison system, suspended Commissioner General of Prisons Tushar Upuldinia has been further remanded until July 9th by order of the Colombo Magistrates Court. Now, the decision follows ongoing investigations into alleged unauthorized release of an inmate from Anuradhapura prison, reportedly under the guise of a presidential pardon granted during Vesak. Colombo Chief Magistrate Thanunjal Mali Jayatunga instructed the prosecution to submit a full report of the investigation at the next hearing. In a related development, Deputy Solicitor General Suharshi Hewat requested that Uppuldeniya be transferred to a different prison facility, a request that was granted by the court. Now, in recent times, we've heard reports of legal action being taken against even a minor incident of bribery. Now, a similar incident was reported yesterday. A former land officer has been sentenced to 22 years of rigorous imprisonment by the Colombo High Court after he was found guilty of accepting a bribe of 100,000 rupees to issue a permit for the removal of a tree from a plot of land in the Tambutegama Mahagali zone. The verdict was delivered by High Court Judge Sujimani Sankar, who also imposed a 30,000 rupee fine on the convicted official. Additionally, the court ordered the recovery of the bribe amount under Section 26 of the Bribery Act, treating it as a financial penalty. Failure to pay the fine will result in an additional 1-year term of simple imprisonment. Now, following a lengthy trial, the judge also directed the convicted officer to pay 100,000 rupees in compensation to the complainant. The convicted individual, a 67-year-old former land official residing in the Anuradhapur area, was found guilty of soliciting and accepting the bribe in exchange for facilitating the illegal permit. Now let's move overseas. Something really big is happening at The Hague, and this also involves none other than US President Donald Trump, who has been very vocal on social media following the start of the 12-day war between Israel and Iran. Now, he also takes credit for mediating a ceasefire between the two nations, who exchanged a barrage of missiles across 2 weeks. Now, NATO allies have agreed to massively boost military spending while affirming their quote-unquote ironclad commitment to collective defense. Leaders from the 32-member bloc pledged to allocate up to 5% of their national GDP to defense and related sectors by 2035, describing the move as a quantum leap in collective security. The new pledge was made in a summit communiqué agreed on Wednesday in The Hague. It stated that members would, quote, invest 5% of GDP annually on core defense requirements as well as defense and security-related spending, unquote. The commitment includes a review point in 2029, conveniently set for the next US presidential election, to evaluate progress and reassess the threat posed by none other than Russia. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte hailed the agreement as transformational, a sentiment echoed by several leaders, though it glossed over clear differences with the alliance. US President Donald Trump, who had previously pushed for a higher NATO defense spending amount, took credit for this shift as well. Let's move on to the world of sports. The second test between Sri Lanka and the visiting Bangladesh will continue into its second day at the SSC in Colombo as part of the 2025-2027 ICC World Test Championship. Now, what happened on day one? Bangladesh, having won the toss and elected to bat first, faced early setbacks on day one, losing their top 4 wickets for just 76 runs. The innings saw a brief recovery of 67 runs in a partnership between Linton Das with 34 and Mushfiqur Rahim with 35 for the 5th wicket. Sri Lanka's debutant Sonal Dinusha made an immediate impact, claiming 2 wickets for 22, including the dismissal of Linton Das for his maiden test wicket. Fast bowlers Asita Fernando and Vishwa Fernando also contributed with 2 wickets each, helping restrict Bangladesh's progress on day one. By stumps on day one, Bangladesh had reached 220 for the loss of 8 wickets. And that brings a wrap for this morning's edition of the Breakfast Rundown with me, Zulfick Farzan. But if you want to keep yourself updated with what's happening here at home and across the world, here's what you need to do. Log on to our website, www.newsfirst.lk. Follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, Twitter, and also TikTok, as well as YouTube. And also don't forget that we also have a WhatsApp channel. Search for Newsfirst on your WhatsApp channel list and subscribe, and don't miss a beat. Until I meet you again tomorrow morning, stay safe and take care.